My mom sent a message saying we changed all the locks on the front door and also updated the gate code. Basically, they didn't trust me anymore. I responded simply, understood, very smart. But I think you might have missed one thing. Next, I canceled the $4,900 mortgage I'd still been paying on their house, even after they claimed my sister deserved it. 2 days later, I got an email from their lawyer. They said, "We have a problem. Call immediately." I never did. It was already too late. That message from my mom kept flashing in my mind: the locks are changed, they don't trust me anymore. That kind of message sticks with you, no matter how many years pass. It came through as a text at exactly 8:14 in the morning, sounding like she'd been rehearsing it all night and finally decided to deliver her speech. I just stared at it. Not because I didn't see it coming, deep down I always knew something like this would happen. But mainly because it felt so formal, so businesslike, like they were firing me from the family. And then, like the world paused just to let me feel the sting of the insult, I typed my reply without hesitation: understood, very smart. But I think you might have overlooked one thing. I didn't wait for a reply. I opened my banking app and canceled the $4,900 mortgage transfer I had been paying every month for their house, the same one they handed over to my sister. The house they argued she deserved because she gave them grandkids, while I apparently only brought disappointment. 2 days after that message, I received a new one. This time from a different number. No emojis, no passive-aggressive dots, just a straightforward, all-caps subject line from a law firm: "We have a problem. Call immediately." I never responded. Because by the time that email arrived, everything was already over. But I should back up, because stories like this don't start with betrayal, they start with love, or at least the performance of it. It begins with a kid who keeps saying yes, thinking one day it'll matter. One day, they'll thank him. One day, he'll finally count. That kid was me, for years. I paid bills. I fixed problems. I carried the weight, all for them. And they'd call it help, until I finally stopped. That morning, the locks were changed. But I'd already changed something even more important: myself. To be honest, I didn't think I was really helping. I thought I was saving the family, the house, the balance. If someone had asked me then, I'd have said, "I'm just supporting them. I can afford it." But it was never just that. I'd been paying their mortgage for nearly 4 years, $1,900 every month, like clockwork. An automatic withdrawal straight out of my account, almost like a sacred family tax. Then there were the utilities, the property insurance, internet bills, and even the emergency roof repair when a storm tore off half the shingles. All of it in my name, with my credit, my money. They never once said thank you. My sister Brianna, of course, always had some new crisis: her credit card maxed out. I paid it down. Her car needed new brakes. I covered that. Daycare costs too high. I sent cash, just enough to get her through until she figured things out. And even after 3 years, she was still figuring it out. And somehow, I never said no. Not once. Because I believed it was what family was supposed to do. Until I realized they were counting on that. The first crack showed up on a Sunday afternoon. I was scrolling Facebook while waiting for my grocery pickup when I saw a photo. Brianna, my parents, and the kids, standing in front of the house I'd been paying for, holding a sign that read, "Home Sweet Home, a gift from Brianna." My mom's caption read, "So proud of our daughter for building a future we can all share. This home is in the right hands." I had to read it twice. Brianna's house. The right hands. There was no mention of me, no tag, no credit. No acknowledgement. Just them, smiling on that porch I'd been paying for. The comments section was a flood of emojis, hearts, clapping hands, praise for Brianna: "She's such a strong woman, you're lucky to have her, she's the rock of your family." Even my aunt chipped in, saying, "Brianna, you deserve every bit of that house. I wanted to toss my phone across the room but didn't. I just stared at it, like staring at a bruise I wasn't ready to touch. A few days later, I called the bank to confirm something, just to be sure the mortgage was still in my name. It was still there. But then the woman on the line casually said, "Looks like someone submitted a request last week to change the primary contact to a Miss Brianna Walker." My heart skipped a beat. They hadn't finished the verification, she added, but the paperwork was already in progress. I hung up without saying a word. Then I checked my bank statements and saw what really shook me: an extra $2,300 had vanished from my account. A transfer to a card I hadn't authorized. I recognized that number, Brianna's emergency visa. The same one I'd helped her out with when she was out of work 2 years ago. I texted her calmly. "Did you use my card again?" I asked. "Don't make a fuss about it, Tyler. We needed groceries, and the kids needed shoes, and I just assumed we were still sharing that one." Me. "No, we weren't." She didn't reply. But my mom did. "Mom. Honey." I told her, "Brianna's going through a lot right now, and she promised she'd pay you back. Let's not start a war over a few bucks." A few bucks. $2,400 is a lot when it's me. But Brianna missing a phone payment, that's a crisis. Then the group chat blew up. They changed its name to Family Circle, even though I never did that. Someone posted a meme. It was a guy handing over his wallet with the caption, "Big Brother Energy. Pay now, ask never." My cousin responded, tagging Tyler. Then another person chimed in. "Hey, can you cover my student loans too?" Even my dad jumped in with, "Only if you name your kid after him. Gotta keep the donor happy." I stared at my screen. Nobody was defending me, not even with a joke to lighten the mood. I left the chat. They added me back. I left again. And then I blocked everyone. But even that wasn't the worst part. That Friday, something happened that really hit hard. I was mowing the backyard, the same yard I'd been keeping up for the last 3 summers, because, like my dad always said, it's not worth hiring anyone if you're around to do it yourself. The mower sputtered, and I paused for a water break. The kitchen window was open, and that's when I overheard them. My mom and Brianna. Their voices were sharp and effortless, like they'd done this 100 times before. Brianna was laughing. "Did you see his face when I told him Melissa's the owner of the house? He didn't even blink. Like a puppy just happy to sniff the plate." Mom chuckled. "It's almost time. Once the paperwork's final, he won't be able to say a word. He insisted on keeping it in his name anyway. That's his fault." Then Brianna again, saying, "Honestly, it's better this way. He's always been distant. Like a guest with a wallet in hand." Then the words that finally broke me, Mom said, "He's not family anymore. He's just a sponsor." I didn't move or say anything. I just stood there with the water bottle in my hand, letting the water run down my fingers like blood. I felt it, this moment, the end of some illusion I'd been holding on to. Not family. Just a sponsor. They didn't see me listening or walking away. But that line, that moment, it shattered something that had been cracking for years. And I swear, in that instant, something new started to form inside me, not anger or grief, just resolve. They never thought I'd show up. The invitation arrived in a stiff white envelope, trimmed in gold, with embossed letters. "Please join us to celebrate Margaret Walker's 60th birthday. No signature, just from your family. 60 guests, a big venue, full catering. A slideshow, I was told, a legacy event." I didn't RSVP. I didn't call. I just marked the date in red and got ready. 3 days before the party, I printed a document listing every dollar contributed, $212723. Total contributions. More than $1 million. Mortgage payments, utilities, repairs. Insurance. Each expense with dates, purposes, and copies of bank transactions. I saved everything on a USB drive, alongside the recording from the open window. He's not family anymore. Just a sponsor. Screenshots from group chats calling me a wallet. Photos of receipts. An email from my sister submitting paperwork to transfer the house entirely into her name. If the house was hers, then so was the debt. That morning, I texted my grandfather. No reply. But I didn't need one. The venue was exactly what I pictured: white linen tables, giant balloons stacked 6 deep. A projector cycling through old photos, baby pictures, beach trips. Waiters in black ties. Cousins in cocktail dresses. And my mother, dressed in emerald green, standing in front of a sign that read, "A house is not a home without family." I almost laughed out loud. I arrived 10 minutes late on purpose. Everyone's eyes turned when I entered. Some smiled, others stiffened. Brianna caught my gaze, blinked twice, then forced a smile and turned away. I didn't wave or speak. I just found a spot at the back. They didn't waste any time. Brianna started her speech. Talking about sacrifice, love, and what it means to be a real family. She mentioned how close they'd become this year. Behind her, the screen displayed a picture of the house. The caption read, "Built with love, passed down with purpose." No mention of me. Then she toasted. My mom took the microphone, wiped her eyes, and looked around the room like she was giving her final blessing. I'm proud of my daughter Brianna. She's shown what true legacy really means. And I'm grateful this home, our home, will stay in the right hands. Applause and smiles followed. Until I stood up. And slowly walked toward the mic. I wasn't planning to talk, I started calmly, but since we're talking about legacy, let's do the math. The projector flickered. Then the audio played, Mom's voice. He's not family anymore. He's just a sponsor. Brianna's voice. Like a puppy sniffing the plate. Some people gasped, a few sat forward in their chairs. One woman dropped her wine glass. I pressed play again. The screen flickered and then shifted. I took a screenshot of the group chat and tagged Tyler. If he changed his kid's name to match the bank's, then maybe I'd consider it. Then there's the ledger, for $1,900 times 48 months. It's for repairs, maintenance, property taxes. If this house now belongs to Brianna, I told them, then I've got a bill to present, not asking for a favor, but collecting what's owed. I held up the printed invoice, 211 pages stapled together. Then came dead silence, until Brianna yelled, "Are you serious?" "Dead serious," I responded, "unless you want to call it theft." "It was a gift," my mom snapped back. "That's funny," I said, stepping closer. "I didn't sign a gift receipt, I signed every check." My dad stood up, looking like he might charge at me, so I turned to him and said, "Want to talk about that loan application where you used my name as a cosigner, without telling me? Because I've got that too." He sat back down, and just then, the door swung open, and my grandfather walked in. He didn't say anything right away, he just went straight to the front of the room. All 60 guests watched as he grabbed the microphone, looked around slowly, and spoke deliberately. "You raised a thief," he said, eyeing my dad, "and a coward. You tried to bury your son's truth in silence. But mud," he noted, "doesn't hide footprints forever." Then he looked directly at me. "The trust is yours now," he stated, "the one your father tried to redirect. I changed it last week. Brianna's name is gone, completely removed." The crowd's eyes shifted in surprise. My mom's face crumbled, Brianna's knees buckled, and she grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. "You want a legacy?" Grandpa challenged, staring directly at them. "Earn it. The hard way." With that, he dropped the microphone and walked out. I set the printed invoice on the gift table, right next to some boxed wine and family photo albums. "You changed the locks," I said loudly enough for the back table to hear, "but I changed my future. I'm not your donor. I'm your debt collector," I added before walking out myself. I didn't stick around for cake, shake any hands, or look back. The party was over, so was the lie. That next morning, I woke up to 57 unread messages. The very first was from my mom: "You humiliated me on my birthday. You made a joke of your own family." Then came my dad's message: "I don't care what you think you're owed. You won't see a single penny." Brianna, always silent, posted just a black screen on her Instagram story. Some wounds come from those who were supposed to fix them. Under her last photo, the comments flooded with sympathetic messages, things like, "You don't deserve this. Stay strong, Mom. Family can tear you down faster than strangers ever could." None of them knew she called me a wallet behind a closed door, nor had they seen the invoice. But someone else had. It was only 2 days later when I got a call from an unknown number. Out of pure curiosity, I answered. "Mr. Walker," a clear, calm voice said. "My name is Nathan Green. I'm an attorney representing your parents, and I'd like to talk about a possible financial resolution." I stayed silent. "They aren't looking for a lawsuit," he continued. "They just want this to disappear, quietly. No press, no social media. In exchange, they're willing to settle." I leaned back in my chair. "Let me guess," I said, "half the amount I'm owed, for their silence." "All things considered," he said, "a reasonable offer, given the informal nature of this, but," I almost laughed. "Nathan," I cut in, "I've got every receipt, every deposit. I've got audio recordings of them mocking me, even their voices admitting what they did." "I'm aware," he said stiffly. "That's why we're calling." "So, here's what I want," I said. "Full repayment, every penny. Or I'll file a public claim and include the audio as proof. You've got 72 hours. He paused briefly. "Understood. I'll be in touch." Exactly 72 hours later, the wire transfer came through, $212,723, marked as reimbursement settlement, with no further liability acknowledged. It didn't come from my parents or even Brianna. Instead, it was sent from a private business account linked to someone I didn't recognize, probably some loan shark or a nervous friend of my dad's. That made it even sweeter. I printed out the transaction, filed the paperwork, and saved digital copies in 6 different places. I didn't reply to anything. I didn't thank them, didn't say a word. I wasn't there for peace, I was there to be paid. A week later, I posted a video with a clean background, no anger, just clarity. Some folks say closure's about forgiveness, but for me, it was about that wire transfer, $212723, what it took to buy 4 years of silence, obedience, and funding someone else's dreams. They call me family, but I prefer to think of myself as a sponsor now. Now they can call me settled. I blurred out the account numbers, but kept the total visible. This isn't about hate, it's about the facts, facts confirmed with receipts. And those receipts, they tell the real story. The post went viral again, this time even bigger. Therapists shared it, adult children of toxic parents stitched it, and one guy even said it inspired him to cancel his mom's car lease. I didn't respond to any of that. That same day, my voicemail from my dad's number played, "So that's it. You really think money fixes everything? You think you've won? You're not part of this family anymore." I erased it before listening to the rest of what they had to say. The locks had been changed on the doors. I set new rules instead. Now, I live in a sleek, contemporary apartment filled with sunlight pouring through massive windows and complete silence. No more family group chats that never end. No late-night texts asking for favors. No guilt trips masked as concern. Sometimes, people ask if it hurts to cut ties with them. Honestly, it doesn't. Because the real truth is, I'm not finished with them. I'm finally free. And that freedom cost me exactly $212,723. Folks keep asking if I feel lighter now. If shutting down my family relations brought peace, closure, or some other word people use when they mean, did it work? And the answer is straightforward, I don't feel lighter. What I feel is clearer. Because peace doesn't always come with a feeling of weightlessness. Sometimes, it's about a solid, grounded certainty, knowing that I'm finally standing on my own side. After everything, they disappeared exactly as I had predicted. No calls. No letters. No, we miss you. Just silence. Not the painful kind, but the kind that simply confirms the truth, they never were really there. I was never a son to them. I was more like a service they used when needed. And once I stopped being useful, I stopped growing up. It took me 2 months, but I finally learned to enjoy mornings, the way sunlight filters softly through untainted windows. The sound of coffee dripping, rather than notifications pinging non-stop. No group chats begging for favors. No passive-aggressive comments about how I haven't called my mother lately. My phone stays quiet. My hands are steady now. I no longer wait for anyone to ask how I'm really doing unless they genuinely want to know. People who only know fragments of my story still ask. But they're family. I nod and say, sure. It's like a cage is still a home if you've never known anything else. But I've stepped outside. Out here, the air doesn't demand that I prove my worth. I don't share the full story unless someone's earned it. There's no thrill in retelling old wounds. It just leaves me exhausted. So now, when someone asks why I'm not close with my family, I simply say, I stopped confusing access with love. Usually, that shuts them up. I used to check my old accounts just to see if they reached out. They never did. Not once. No apologies. No explanations. Not even a guilt trip disguised as concern. Just silence. Like I was never there. Like $212,723 worth of my life was an error they corrected by erasing me from it. Fine. Let them pretend. Pretending is their specialty. And the worst part? They probably think I still care, that I'm angry, waiting for an apology, secretly hoping they'll change. But I'm not. I've seen them for what they really are. And when that mask slips that far, you don't wait for it to go back on. You walk away. You don't look back in the rearview. Forgiveness? No. That's just something people throw around when they're feeling guilty and want your warmth without earning it. Forgiveness takes acknowledgement. Responsibility. Regret. And they never offered any of that. So I give nothing in return. My therapist once asked me what I'd say to them if they were standing right in front of me. I thought about it. I sat in that chair, breathing slowly, trying to picture their faces, those familiar masks built from years of denial and manipulation. And I simply said nothing. I wouldn't say a word. Because speaking implies they still have access. But they don't. The key is gone. No emergency contacts. No shared bank accounts. No saved numbers just in case. I've erased every trace of them from my life. Not out of spite, but because it's necessary. Survival is quiet like that. It doesn't involve fireworks. It's just locked doors and a fresh start. Sometimes I imagine they tell others I cut them off over money. That I was always distant. That I lost control. Yeah, maybe. Let them believe whatever soft story makes them comfortable. Their victimization of the ungrateful kid who said no. They need that fiction. I have the facts. Facts don't plead or whine. Facts don't tremble under scrutiny. Facts sit still. They wait. They endure. Just like I did. Now I live, not in some fairy tale fantasy. Not out of revenge. Just real life. Boring, simple, my life. I work. I rest. I laugh when something's funny. I eat when I'm hungry. Not when people beg me to show up at some family dinner, foot the bill, and then forget I was even there. I still remember what my mom said years ago: if you ever left, we'd fall apart. And she was right. They did. But I didn't. I'm not broken. I'm not bitter. I'm not waiting around. I'm just done. Not as a warning or a statement. Just as a fact. Like a phone kept on lockdown. Like an inbox wiped clean. Like a number that rings once and then goes nowhere, no forwarding, no calling back. Just me. Whole. Free.